don't know, Michael. This one was weird, man. This one is definitely not going to be easy. How you doing, man? You good? It's been a while. What's up, YouTube? It's John from Project Ellsworth. Well, I finally made it through Hellraiser Judgement, which is the final movie in the Hellraiser franchise. This one was a little bit weird. I gotta tell you, a lot of the stuff that's going on and taking place in these Hellraiser sequels has been very, well, let's face it, all of the Hellraiser movies up to including the original Hellraiser film. A lot of strange stuff taking place. This one stands out as being very, very different than every Hellraiser movie that has ever existed, up to and including Part 1 and Part 2, the original Clive Barker film. This movie is sort of like a detective story, like a whodunit type thing. There is a twist or two in this film. The ending was incredibly unexpected, but I liked it. All right, so there was, you know what, I'll tell you about this particular kill or incident as a result of a kill in a moment. This one starts off with detectives looking for a particular bad guy. Prior to them finding the location where this bad guy was, you see what happened to this bad guy. And this is like the strangest court story or you would ever see, like court proceeding you'd ever see. You have like what's the person that takes the notes? You got that guy. Whatever. I'm just very difficult time explaining this movie. All right, so you got this guy, this bad guy, this criminal. He's sitting in a chair. He's got IVs in his arms, draining his blood out into a typewriter. In the typewriter, his blood's being used as ink by some Paul Schaefer-looking dude who's got scars all over his face. After he types whatever he needs, he's basically interviewing the bad guy. After he's done interviewing the bad guy, he takes the papers and he puts them on a plate for some big fat guy who walks in a suit jacket with no shirt. He's all sweaty and hairy and gross. He sits down with a little vial of children's tears and puts that on the paper and then immediately starts to eat the paper. As if that's not strange enough, after he's done eating the paper, he goes over to the wall and throws up in some urinal-looking thing on the wall. The vomit comes out of that, goes down through some tubing, and lands in a big trough where 3 naked, big-breasted women go over to it and stick their hands in the vomit and turn and look at the person that they're talking to. I believe it was Scarface. I don't remember who it was, be honest with you. I think it was the Scarface guy. They turn and look at him and say guilty. So these 3 naked, big-breasted women are sitting there. Did I say they were big-breasted women? Yeah. And their faces are all ripped off. So after he's found guilty is when he is punished. Some other dude now comes in and gets on top of him. He's now strapped down on a table with big-ass blades, cuts him to pieces, then rips all his flesh off. Did I mention that this was strange? Pinhead is in this movie up until the 1 minute and 7 second mark. 1 hour and 7 minute mark. A little messed up here. About that much up until then. The last 14 minutes of the film, roughly, total running time was 1 hour and 21 minutes. So 1 hour and 7 minutes plus 14 minutes is 121. But that includes the credits. The last 10 minutes, roughly, Pinhead's in the movie quite a bit. But up to this point, you see him leaning forward in a chair. You see him leaning back in a chair. You see him leaning forward in a chair. You see him leaning back in a chair. And it's not much more than that for the vast majority of this movie. The film does open with Paul Schaefer and Pinhead discussing that the lament box is now becoming obsolete, which is really weird. I don't even know how to explain this movie, to be totally honest with you. It's got a very steampunkish look to it. I think that has a lot to do with the coloring, as well as the Paul Schaefer guy with the scars all over his face. He's wearing like big goggles. Steampunk is immediately where my mind went. Then you got Pinhead wearing his leather goth outfit. There's one person that gets killed in this movie that I kind of touched on a little while ago. This girl has a dog that she considers to be her baby. Well, she gets killed. When the detectives find her, they notice that her stomach is all stitched up. And then they notice that her stomach is moving. And what they've done is they've stitched up a dog inside of this woman's womb because she refers to the dog as her baby.
Wow.
Very, very cool. That was one of the more enjoyable parts of the movie for me. And I don't know what that says about me. All right, look, I don't know what else to say about this movie. Other than, strangely, I liked it. I liked it a lot more than I liked just about all, I would say not just about all of the Hellraiser sequels, except for probably Hellbound. I liked Hellbound. Pinhead again in this film is not portrayed by Doug Bradley. And right before I came down here, I was reading a little bit about this movie, and it touched that Doug Bradley was contacted and asked to reprise his role as, I'm spitting all over the place. He was asked to reprise his role as Pinhead in this film, and he refused to do it. He never even read the script. He said that the way that Dimension mistreated all of the sequels to the Hellraiser movies, which actually made me kind of smile when I read that, because quite frankly, the sequels to Hellraiser after Hellbound, they sucked, and that's putting it nicely. But this movie, I would have appreciated Doug Bradley in this movie because it's so weird and it's so different. Everything about this movie, the only thing that makes this movie feel like a Pinhead movie, a Hellraiser movie, is Pinhead is in it. And it's not even the Pinhead that we've all come to know and love. It's some other guy. Big old nose on him. He looked okay, I guess, as Pinhead, but I like Doug Bradley as Pinhead. I like the clean Doug Bradley look of Pinhead. This guy had a big gonzo honker on him, and he was kind of dirty looking. His costume looked kind of thrown together. It didn't look as pristine and well-worn as Doug Bradley. I just think Doug Bradley's pretty damn cool as Pinhead, and the two people who portrayed Pinhead after him were not as cool. I'll put it that way and be done with that. Overall, I would strongly suggest that if you're a Hellraiser fan and if you've suffered through some of those other Hellraiser sequels, watch this one. Very different. It's kind of a steampunkish, Saw-feeling, whodunit mystery thriller, twisted as shit Hellraiser movie. It's very, very different. I liked it a lot. You can definitely tell that it was low budget, but with that said, the budget that they did have, they did a really good job with it. You could see that there was a lot of stuff with the lighting that made it have that particular feel. It looked washed out at times, but then it looked very dark at times. The yellowish coloring made it look old, but modern at the same time, which is also, I think that the lighting had a lot to do with why it felt kind of Saw-ish to me. Well, that and planting a dog inside of somebody, that was weird. And this also had a lot to do with the Ten Commandments, which kind of threw like the twist and riddle thing into it, which also made it have sort of a Saw feel. I don't know, man. I thought this was pretty cool, and I'm actually going to go back and watch this again, probably reasonably soon. I don't have nearly enough movies to watch, so I got to just start watching the movies that I've already watched. Ridiculous. But I want to go back and watch this movie again because I have a feeling that this is one of those types of movies that when you watch it again, as with most movies, but this is the type of movie that when you watch it again, you pick up little things that you didn't pick up before, especially after you know the ending of the movie. It's one of those types of deals. Kind of like Saw. All right, so that's my thoughts on this. I thought it was cool. Didn't know anybody in this movie, which also kind of made it cool because you don't have any expectations when you don't know any of the actors. You don't say, oh, he was not nearly as good in this, or you don't deal with any of that shit in this movie. Unless you know him. I don't know him. But it's good. Very strange. It's definitely the redheaded stepchild of the Hellraiser franchise. It's very different than all of them. It really, all right, I'm getting at it. I think you get the picture. It's different than all the rest of them, and it's better than all the sequels, except for part 2. All right, I'm getting at it. If you guys like this video, please, man, I rambled in this one. I fought my way through this shit. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you really like this video and you've been enjoying my content up to this point, please do me a huge personal favor. Click that subscribe button. Ring that bell. And if you like heavy metal music and you like reactions, jump on over to Project Ellsworth Reacts. I do a couple reaction videos per week. And if you want to have lunch with me and my wife, go over to Project Ellsworth Eats. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a kick-ass day. Thank you for watching, folks. Later.